Hi, everyone, and welcome back to some new episodes of Sisters in Service. For those of you that know me, you know why I do this, because I want to tell those stories of active duty women and women veterans, and to tell their story, you know, the good, the bad, and the ugly of what happened to them in service and after service. But these women are also doing some amazing things in their life after service. I also like to highlight these women who are business owners, they're entrepreneurs, they're bosses in their business. So I hope you'll continue to listen and let your friends know and let me know how this lands with you, because it's really important for me that you guys understand what I do, why I do it, and why I continue to do it. So here's the first episode. This episode is being sponsored by Small Space Pilates. Are you ready to get fit and fabulous from the comfort of your own home? Look no further than Small Space Pilates. With live online Pilates and weight training classes, a video library, and a no perfection allowed policy, you can achieve your fitness goals without ever leaving your house. Visit smallspacepilates.com for your complimentary session and start your journey to feeling fabulous today. Welcome to another episode of Sisters in Service. You know me, I'm your host, Kat Corchado. And we're going to discuss a deeply important and often overlooked issue: military veterans who served in the armed forces and were later deported. I know, I didn't believe that either until I read an article. Many veterans are fighting deportation over nonviolent criminal offenses, and they deserve a chance to become not just veterans, but also U.S. citizens. Non-U.S. citizens have been allowed to serve in the military, and there are about 32,000 non-U.S. citizens enlisted today. And that's according to the U.S. Department of Defense. Approximately 9,000 of those become U.S. citizens every year, so that's a good thing. But this is a complex and sensitive topic. And I first learned about this topic last year when I read an article about it, and I saved it. But I didn't know what to do with it because I didn't know anyone who had been deported until I met my guest today, Daniel Torres. He is a Marine Corps veteran, attorney, and fierce advocate of deported veterans because he has lived this experience firsthand. So help me welcome Daniel Torres. Hi, Daniel.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I'm glad you were able to be a guest. I'm so happy to have you. So I always ask my veterans when they come on, you served in the Marine Corps. So I'm going to ask you, did you choose the Marine Corps or did the Marine Corps choose you?
I would say both. The opportunity for me to enlist came with the Marine Corps, and my situation is complicated, and I'll go into detail. And the circumstances in which I enlisted are complicated and controversial. So, did the Marine Corps choose me? Yes. At the moment, the Marine Corps was my only option. But also, I always knew if I was going to join, I was going to join the Marine Corps. If I was going to join the military, I didn't want to be like a mechanic or a cook. I can do that in the civilian world. If I wanted to join the military, I wanted to blow shit up. You know?
Yeah, you went for it. I have to say the Marine Corps was not on my list. It wasn't on my short list.
Not for everyone.
So, Daniel, if you couldn't have enlisted in the Marine Corps, what other branch would you have chosen and why?
If I could have joined the Marine Corps, I don't know. I don't know. Perhaps I wanted to do something that you could only do in the military. So fly a helicopter, drive a tank, fly a plane, something like that. That's not why I joined, to be honest. So if I hadn't joined the Marine Corps, I probably would have joined the Army, I think. I don't know.
Got it. Yeah, I'm an Air Force veteran, and I joined the Air Force only because I grew up as a military brat in the Air Force. So I just kind of stuck with what I knew. I wasn't branching out because I was too scared to. I was like, no, I'll stick with what I know. And so I did. But anyone who goes into the Marine Corps, I just feel like they're such badasses, man. They're just like, yeah, I got this.
Well, it sounds like you knew better.
Oh, that's what that is. Oh, okay.
When we joined the Marine Corps, we joined the Marine because we're trying to figure out some issues. You know what I mean?
I hear you. So you go into the Marine Corps and you served how many years?
Of 3 years and about 8 months.
Okay. And so you get out of the military. What was your transition like when you got out? Was it hard? Was it easy? What did you think?
It was super hard. It was super hard because I transitioned from civilian to military. No, from military to civilian as a deported veteran. So
That is difficult. So can you give us the circumstances surrounding your deportation?
So I left. I self-deported. I have no deportation record. I've never been deported. I have to pretty much go back and explain to you how I got into the United States and how I enlisted and how all of that happened for you to, kind of understand what my discharge was like. So I was born in Tijuana. I was born like 3 miles from the border. You could see the border wall from where I grew up. And since I was a little kid, I have family in San Diego, so I would go back and forth. So I grew up in this limbo of culture, too American to be Mexican, too Mexican to be American. That happens to a lot of immigrant kids. My family moved to Salt Lake City, Utah. So my dad had a work visa because he's an engineer. So he got a really good job offer in Salt Lake City, and he moved all of us up there. And Salt Lake City was a culture shock for me. It's the complete opposite of Tijuana.
Mm-hmm.
I was a kid when we moved. Now, when I was growing up, there was no DACA. So the moment I turned 18 years old, I have no legal status. So I couldn't join the military. You know what I mean? A few years later, I run into a recruiter that I knew from high school. He joined in high school, did his 4 years, re-enlisted, was a recruiter, run into him. He's like, yo, Daniel, like, what are you doing these days? What's up with your life? And at that time, I was 21 years old, and I wasn't doing anything with my life. I was working illegally. I was smoking weed and playing video games. Just wasting my life away. And I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to be just another Mexican taking somebody else's job. I wanted to be able to say that I had done something for this country, that I had earned my place in this country. And while talking to him, he's like, do you want to join the Marine Corps? It's 2007, middle of Iraq War. Nobody wants to join the Marine Corps. Nobody wants to join the infantry Marine Corps. Right. And I was like, yeah, I would love to, but, I'm not a citizen. And he's like, oh, don't worry. We have waivers for that. Okay.
Oh, there's a waiver for everything. Or so they say.
And he's like, do you have a high school diploma? Yes, I have a high school diploma. Do you have a social security number? Yes, I have a social security number. Do you have any medical problems? No medical problems. Criminal record? No, ever been caught. I've been, we're good. And he's like, all right, show up. I show up, did the ASVAB, scored like an 89. Wow. He's like, if this was the Navy, you could like go into nuclear subs and stuff. And I'm like,
right.
Oh, okay. And he's like, yeah, we can sign you up. No problem. Cool. So I did. And go to the Marine Corps. I wanted to see the world, right? Unfortunately, I got stationed in 29 Palms. So that was my Marine Corps experience.
Well, that's part of the world. Not exactly your idea of it.
Yeah. So 3 years later, one Iraq deployment later, they're getting ready for the Helmand surge in Afghanistan. It's 2010. And they're asking for combat reinforcements from all the units. And when I was in Iraq, I was company driver. So I drove everyone in my chain of command, from gunny to battalion commander. They all knew me by name. They knew me by face. And, I was good to go. And I volunteered for a 1-year deployment in Afghanistan. But I was going to get an intel billet. I was going to be the golfer for regiment. So basically, I was going to go on the patrols with all the battalions. Whatever intel they got, I would grab it, bring it back to headquarters. And I was just going to be the golfer. It was a good job. You're on your own time. I was going to be reporting to a staff sergeant in I think it's S6 was the shop. And it looked like I could do a career, and it looked good for me. I'm in Vegas with my friends, pre-deployment leave. We're getting drunk, we're being rowdy, and I lose my wallet. And with my wallet goes my social security card, goes my IDs, goes everything.
Oh, man.
And I have to go back to my command and say, hey, I lost my wallet. I don't have any IDs. And he's like, okay, no problem. Bring your birth certificate. Okay. So I show up with my Mexican birth certificate. And they look at me and they're like, what's this? My birth certificate. Are you legal? And I'm like, yes, I think so. I mean,
Maybe.
I'm illegal for a Marine. I'm not.
Right. You're a Marine. Yeah.
I was like, well, I joined. So like, I'm a citizen. Nope. That's not how it works. Everybody freaks out because I'm getting trained to be an intel, right? And like I remember I was in Del Mar in San Diego, and there's this huge like building next to the regiment, and they have like this like auditorium looking thing with a huge screen, and there was a map there, and I could just look at like troop levels, water levels, ammo levels, like the entire first meth information. So they freak out, right? Because of the access that I have. I have rosters with 20,000 people in them. And they bring me into NCIS, and NCIS is like, we're just going to have a really nice talk. We just want to know what's going on. We want to understand. And me, 23-year-old Marine, sign off my right to counsel because I didn't know any better.
Right. That
mood changed completely. Now they have 3 investigators in there with me, and they're grilling me. Why are you here? Why are you trying to get into intel? Do you have any contact with foreign nationals, with foreign organizations, with foreign? They think I'm a terrorist, right? And I'm like, well, the only foreign national that I talk to on a regular basis is my grandma, but she's not a spy,
Right.
And eventually they got to the point where like, okay, well, in your unit, who knew about you being illegal? Who knew about your legal status? Who helped you do this? And that pissed me off. Because now they're trying to throw under the bus my brothers that I deploy with, that that I get invited to their Thanksgiving dinners with their families with. And I was like, no, fuck that. We're not doing that. And I'm like, listen, I'm not throwing anyone under the bus. I'm just some legal kid who wanted to be a Marine. So just write it up that it was me. I'm all good. I'll take the hit, and you do what you got to do. You're like, all right, hold. I go back to my unit, my parent unit, and everybody knows me and everybody trusts me. If I wanted to do something, I would have done already, right? So they're like, okay, well, let's figure out what we can do. Go to immigration liaison. And I go to immigration liaison, and she's like, well, we can ask for your citizenship, but you got to be a resident first, and you're not a resident. You are legal. So go to the defense attorneys, figure out what they're going to want to do with this. So I go to the defense attorneys in base, and they're like, okay, well, if we request citizenship for you, we have to explain why you lied when you enlisted, which you knew you weren't a citizen. So that's fraudulent enlistment. That's 4 years in jail. So let me talk to your battalion CO and see what he wants to do. So
but what happened to the waiver? Didn't you say that the person who would signed you up with that there was going to be a waiver? They didn't do the waiver?
What waiver?
Oh, there wasn't one. Oh,
got it. As a U.S. citizen.
Oh.
So now I'm impersonating a U.S. citizen in order to acquire an intel billet within the U.S. military. So that looks bad. That looks bad.
Yes.
Right. So, I go to talk to my sergeant major. I go talk to my CO, and they're looking at me like, you're an idiot. You know what I mean? And I've never, Crayola is my favorite snack. I've never said otherwise. You know what I mean? So I'm just like, what do you guys want to do? So my contract is up in a few months, right? Because I signed up for 4 years. And they're like, well, what we're going to do is you're going to get discharged. You're going to get general honorable. You're going to lose your GI Bill. And you're going to figure out as a civilian. Go home. So I get discharged 2011. and I'm back in Salt Lake City, Utah, where I grew up. And I was heartbroken. I was dealing with mental health. I was dealing with a lot. It felt like the last 4 years of my life had been for nothing.
Right.
I couldn't get a job. I couldn't go to school. I was living in my parents' house, and after being independent, it felt terrible to put that burden on them. And I'm the oldest in in the Mexican households, and I'm the male oldest, so the cultural part comes in.
Right.
So I was like, this country doesn't want me, so why am I here? And I had a wonderful idea. This is like a really great idea that Marines have sometimes. I decided to join the French Foreign Legion, and I traveled.
Oh my goodness.
I went to Paris in France to join the Legion. Unfortunately, I have hearing loss from the Marine Corps, and I failed the physical test, and I was denied entry into the Legion. And I took a flight, and I went back to Tijuana in 2011. And that's how I ended up back in 2011. And now, I was discharged in February of 2011, and I got to Tijuana in April of 2011. So my transition period was chaos.
Rough. Yeah. So you weren't deported. You just decided to go back, and you couldn't get back into the US. Is that correct?
That's right.
So Daniel, what was your mindset? You're already in this place. You go back to Tijuana, and you find you can't get back to the US. I mean, I'm trying to figure this out in my own head. I would just be like, where do I go? What do I do? Who do I talk to? Is that how you kind of felt?
No, I was still in Marine Corps mode. It took a while for me to get out of Marine Corps mode. I got a job in customer service because I knew really good English, right? And there's a lot of like call center jobs in the border that take advantage of the fact that people have good English, right? And it's cheap to pay them for that customer service. So that's what I did. And I quickly realized I needed to do something with my life. I do consider myself lucky because I had somewhere to go to. I had my grandmother, my godmother there, my godfather there. I had my uncles and my cousins.
So you had family.
I had a community. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of deported veterans don't have that. A lot of deported veterans, like we have a deported veteran who was deported 3 weeks ago to Ciudad Juarez. It's not a good spot to go to. Okay, Ciudad Juarez is very violent right now. And he's living in a shelter right now, and he's trying to figure out what to do next. And we're trying to help him with that. But that's the reality. The reality is you just get thrown into some of the most dangerous cities in Mexico with no support. That's how the Deported Veteran Support House became a thing. So I decided, okay, well, I'm going to study. No math. I don't want math. So I'm trying to figure out what to do, and I applied for law school in Tijuana. I got my law degree in 2017. I went to law school in 2012.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And in the process of going to law school in Tijuana, that's where I met Hector Barajas. Hector Barajas is the founder and director of the Deported Veteran Support House in Tijuana and later in Juarez. We have shelters there that are specifically for U.S. veterans. And at the first, I didn't think anything was going to come out of it, to be honest. I wasn't expecting to ever come back to the United States. I thought I was the only veteran to be deported. But I came to realize that there was about a community of 30 deported veterans in Tijuana and Rosarito that would meet every week and try to, figure out what to do. And
were you surprised by that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So this was a much bigger problem. You're like, wait, what? There's more than one or two of us? That just shocks me. It really does. And so as a lawyer, when did you start realizing that this was, so you meet these other people that were deported. When did you start kind of getting into this realm? Because this is what you do, correct?
Mm-hmm.
When did you start realizing that this was your calling, so to speak?
It wasn't too much later. I started meeting with the Deported Veteran Support House because he gave me a community. He gave me people that understood what I was going through. It gave me people that knew what I was going through. And what is insane is that there were veterans from Vietnam, Panama,
Oh
Gulf
my
War,
gosh.
Kosovo, Iraq, Afghanistan. And even though, we were different generations, different war zones, we were all going through the same thing: deportation, family separation, PTSD, suicidal tendencies. Some of our brothers have substance abuse problems.
Yes.
The tragedy is that those are the reasons why they got deported, but those problems stem from their military service.
Yes.
So they go into the military young, they come out broken, and instead of getting the help that they need, they get kicked out. Currently, with the immigration laws of the United States, they see us as immigrants first, veterans second. And when you are facing deportation, the veteran status is not even taken into account. I mean, it's not like you get a free pass for being a veteran. Military service is a pathway to citizenship, but that citizenship is not guaranteed and it's not automatic. And the great majority of people think it is. Deported veterans were told that.
But it should be, don't you think?
Absolutely should be. Absolutely. DD 214
Yes.
should be citizenship.
Or at least to start the pathway to citizenship.
You have
DD 14 should mean something. It really does. It should. Yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I'm just like, I'm sitting here and I could feel myself bubbling up, and I'm like, just calm down, Kat. Just calm down.
No, and everybody has that reaction. That is the normal reaction. These are the men and women that fought for this country, and the country is not fighting for them. Not until now. And and I'm talking about like this was 10 years later. It was 10 years when I started meeting with Hector and all those guys. So a lot of those guys are already dead, and they died in exile.
I just read an article pertaining to this, and it was, I think he served in the army, and he got caught with, I guess, marijuana or something, and then they found out that he was, not a citizen, and so a lot of these people are getting deported for non-violent crimes.
Yes.
And I was just really shocked by that. So Daniel, do you know off the top of your head which services in the military are actually doing this? I mean, I only say this because of this. When I came in the military, I am a naturalized citizen. So even though I was born to my parents, my dad was already in the military when I was born, I still had to be naturalized because I wasn't automatically a citizen.
Mm-hmm.
So when I decided to come in the military, I did the paperwork in November 1979, went on active duty. Actually, when I went in to do the paperwork, and my recruiter's like, "Are you a citizen?" I go, "Yes." And they go, "Are you sure?" I said, "I'm a naturalized citizen." They're like, and he kind of looked at me, he goes, "Well, you have to prove that." I mean, I was given such a hard time about it. And so do you know which services are allowing this? And is there a waiver, or is there not a waiver? Or is this just something they use, because we all know that these, recruiters always tell the truth, to get recruits?
Yes. The answer is yes. It's very complicated right now. All right. Obviously, there are guidelines for recruiting, right? But there's also recruiting goals, and recruiters are just like salesmen. They'll promise everything for you to join because they have numbers that they have to keep up. So going to immigrant kids and telling them that they're going to be American citizens if they join, that is 100% a recruiting tool that is used, and it should be used. Now, the problem is not that the promise is being made. The problem is that the promise is not being kept.
It's an empty promise. It's an empty promise.
Right.
It's like promising, "Oh, I'll give you some money if you do this." Well, there's no money, and you're already out.
You have to send in the form to get your money and provide proof that you deserve that money.
Exactly.
It has to decide if they're even going to give you. It's complicated. I had a good case because I don't have a criminal record. I have a honorable discharge. I don't have a deportation record. I was young. I was in law school. I know how to talk. So they were like, okay, let's see if we can get Daniel in and open the door and get people's attention. And that's what happened. I've done interviews with everyone from Al Jazeera to CCN to BBC to everyone. I eventually got the attention of a lot of people, including the American Civil Liberties Union of Southern California, who took on my case pro bono.
Nice.
And through them, I got my citizenship in 2016. And
congratulations.
Thank you. And I think the reason why I got my citizenship is because I was invited to work in a movie in 2015. And the movie made it to the Berlinale Film Festival. And they said, will you wear your dress blues? I'm like, yeah, of course. So I'm on the red carpet on my dress blues, and that thing blows up. I'm on like everywhere, every single newspaper all over the world. And
you're a star, Daniel.
Star. And then like 3 months later, they call me and they're like, hey, go to the American Embassy in Tijuana with your Mexican passport. They're going to give you a temporary visa. All right. I go in. They're like, oh, yeah, we're waiting for you. Boom, temporary visa. And I was like, oh, shit. Okay. That was quick, right? And when the government wants to do something, they do
it quickly. Yes.
They do it quickly. If they're not doing it, it's because they don't want to, not because they can't.
Exactly.
Right? Period. And that applies for all policies. All right. So that was on a Tuesday. And then they're like, okay, Friday, you're crossing over. We're going to take you to your immigration appointment. All right. I go to my immigration appointment, and there's already like cameras waiting for me. And that same day, I take the oath. And that's the same day I gave my citizenship certificate. And they
couldn't say no, though, Daniel. All those cameras out there, and you come out there going, yeah, no, I've got nothing. Although, I mean, I'm glad that it all went well for you. But my question is, when these deported veterans, do they have, even though they have a DD-214, do they not have access to medical, mental services, support networks, stuff like that? Do they not have access to that kind of stuff?
They have no access to the VA because there's no VA facilities outside of the United States. Mm-hmm. And even though they qualify for benefits and they qualify for VA services, they can't come to the United States. So they don't have access to them.
Why are we just now hearing about this? Like I said, I heard about this a year ago and I was appalled. But it seems it's like one of those things that, you hear deported and veteran, and it's like an oxymoron. They just don't go together. They're like opposites. And so what's being done, maybe higher up in Washington, maybe, to bring this to light, to say, this is a problem and we need to do something to correct it?
The veterans have been deported since 1996. In 1996, immigration law changed. Immigration law changed in 1996 because of the Oklahoma City bombings. Because at first, the government thought the Oklahoma City bombings were the act of terrorists for a national. Turns out that he was an American citizen. Unfortunately, the stigmatism and the damage had already been done. So they used the Oklahoma City bombings as an excuse to make immigration laws tougher. And what I mean by tougher, and of course, veterans got caught in the middle of that. And what I mean by tougher, well, a misdemeanor, if you are an immigrant, if you're a green card holder, automatically gets upgraded to an aggravated felony, which is a deportable offense. So are there deported veterans who are not come back? Absolutely. There's deported veterans that even I won't support because of their habits and their records.
Right.
Like sexual crimes and violent crimes is something that we're not going to support. Okay. But the great majority, the great bulk, 90% of veterans, they get deported because they thought they were citizens automatically. Right. Like Alex Murillo, he had an immigration appointment while he was deployed to Israel on a ship off the coast of Israel. So unfortunately, deployment is not an excuse to miss your immigration appointment. So
that's crazy.
So if you miss your immigration appointment because you're being deployed to a combat zone, you have to restart the process.
All over, from A?
Yeah.
Oh, God, that's awful.
That's Kevin Martinez. He was a government contractor deployed to South Korea when his appointment came up, and he was trying to come back to the United States from working for the government.
Yes.
And he was stopped at customs and said, "Oh, you missed your immigration report appointment, and the judge has ruled to deport you."
That just, anyway, I'm sorry, I had to cool down a little bit.
Take a second. But there's also like cannabis charges. Cannabis charges, any kind of drug possession will get you deported. DUI will get you a bar fight. There's a guy who got in a bar fight, knocked the guy out, got an assault charge, and he got deported. Missing child support payments will get you deported, which makes no sense to me because now, like, you didn't want, he wasn't paying child support, but now he's deported, so he's really not going to pay child support now.
Yeah. It's kind of, it doesn't make sense.
Writing back checks. Yeah.
So Daniel, as a lawyer, is this what you do now? Is you hear about deported veterans and you help them to become citizens or start the process?
No. So the Deported Veteran Coalition is made up of about a dozen different organizations, a bunch of attorneys. See, I'm a lawyer in Mexico, but I am not a bar certified attorney in the United States. So I cannot represent people in the United States. What ended up happening with me is that I came back to the United States and somehow I ended up working in film because I was a subject matter expert. I kept getting hired for documentaries and for movies as a military advisor, as an immigration advisor, and eventually as a screenplay advisor. And now I help write movies and documentaries and do research for them, making sure that all their facts are checked. I do a lot of lobbying on behalf of the deported veterans, which is what I just did this week. I was in Washington, D.C. from Monday to Thursday, lobbying for the VSRA, which is the Veterans Service Recognition Act. Its official number is HR 4569. Now, what the VSRA does, it does a couple of things. It streamlines the process of citizenship for active duty service members, meaning that if you complete boot camp, it tells the branches of the military to have your citizenship ceremony at the same time as your graduation ceremony.
I love that.
Like you complete boot camp. All right, we're going to make you a citizen. Please step to the side and put your hand up. Right now, there has been programs employed by the branches of the military to do that. The problem is that everybody does it differently. There's no standardized process for active duty personnel. This fixes that. The second thing is that, those policies can change with a new administration or they can change with a new commander. So this makes it law. So it cannot just be thrown out the window when a Republican president comes into play, which is what happened with Trump. There's also the INVI program, and this was established by the Department of Homeland Security under the Biden's administration. And the INVI program stands for Immigrant Veterans Initiative. And what it does, it reviews the deportation cases on a case-by-case basis, and it uses prosecutorial discretion from the Department of Homeland Security to bring back deported veterans. About 80-something deported veterans have been returned, and of those 80-something, about 18 have received citizenship or green card. The rest are here on a humanitarian visa. That humanitarian visa has to be renewed every year. It costs $500 to renew per family.
Wow.
And of course, it's not guaranteed that it's going to be around if a new administration comes around in 2024.
That's a lot of money.
That's why and some of these guys have like 3 children and a wife, you know what I mean? So, so it's an issue.
So Daniel, what can listeners do? What can I do? What can veterans do to support deported veterans, or raise awareness about their situation or advocate for the change to immigration policies?
So the first thing you can do is you can call your representatives and tell them that you want VSRA to pass the House and the Senate. The reason why we were in Washington, D.C. is because last Congress, it passed the House. It did not pass the Senate. This time around, we're trying to pass the Senate with a Republican co-sponsor, and we concentrate our efforts on the Republican Party to make it a bilateral bill. So if you are on a Republican district or in a red state, what I need you to do is I need to call your representatives and tell them I support HR 4569, Veteran Service Recognition Act. It doesn't open the door for illegal immigrants because you have to be a permanent resident to join the military. Mm-hmm. It doesn't create new ways to become citizens. It just cuts the red tape and gives guidelines and a standardized process that only veterans and active duty members can benefit from. So all those people that say, "Oh, we want the good immigrants," well, this is what good immigrants look like.
The ones who served our country.
Exactly.
I hear you saying all of this stuff, and I still can't believe that this is actually happening, because for those of us that wore the uniform, we put our hand up, we say, "I state your name, do solemnly swear to defend the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic." Boom, you should be in, period. And the fact that we have veterans that are actually going through this, I can't even imagine what this would feel like or be like. It shouldn't be happening. Just like homeless veterans shouldn't be happening. It just shouldn't happen.
I haven't even told you like the worst parts about this issue. Like for example, nobody knows how many deported veterans there are because they didn't keep track and record of how many veterans were being deported. They were being deported just like anybody else. So if you go to ICE, to DHS, and you ask them how many deported veterans are there, they're going to tell like, we don't know because we didn't keep track of that.
Wow.
We know of about 330 something veterans because they've reached out to us. They've seen the interviews, they've seen the social media, and they're like, "Hey, I'm a deported veteran." And this is not a Mexican problem, right? Most deported veterans stay in the border because that's where their families can come and visit them.
Yes.
Right? But we have deported veterans in Ghana, Jamaica, Belize, France, England. There's one from Iceland, Canada, South Korea, American Samoa, even though it's an American territory. We have some guys in the Philippines, Panama, Costa Rica, about 54 different countries spread all over the world. So this is not a Latino issue.
Right. It's not. It's just, yeah, exactly. Wow, Daniel, this has been such
and a
great conversation. Go ahead.
When a deported veteran dies, their bodies may be returned to the United States and be given a military burial at a national cemetery because they are honorable discharge veterans. So they're good enough to be buried here, but not to live here.
Wow, you have to die to get honors? I'm like, that just doesn't make sense to me. It's just, I'm so glad I got a chance to meet you, Daniel. And for our listeners, I don't know if any of you have heard about this, but I'm still appalled that this is, I shouldn't be in lieu of other things that are happening, but this shouldn't be happening to veterans. It just shouldn't be. And I think this is such an important issue that we need to keep on top of. And I hope that you will keep us informed, Daniel, about, what do you need from us? How, that we can help. And if we hear of someone through the grapevine, because the veteran community is very small but very powerful, of a deported veteran, how do we get them the help that they need? Where is that starting point for them?
Okay, so one thing that you can do is you can follow me on socials, because if you follow me on socials, you'll keep up to date of what's happening. I have the same username on all my socials, Facebook, Instagram. It's Darren Torres, Delta Alpha Romeo Oscar November Tango, Oscar, Romeo, Echo, Sierra. My name is Daniel Aaron Torres, so Darren Torres just kind of makes sense. There are also organizations that you can donate to in order to help them stay afloat. Some of those organizations is Repatriate Our Patriots. They work out of El Paso, and they work with the Juarez veterans. There's also Unified Deported Veterans. You can find them on Facebook. They have an information office in Tijuana. There's also the Deported Veterans Support House. They have shelters both in Tijuana and in Juarez. And finally, the Black Deported Veterans. And if you Google any of these organizations, you'll be able to find them fairly easily. Black Deported Veterans was created in order to pay attention to the Caribbean and the African brothers that are out there.
Daniel, this has been an enlightening conversation. I'm so glad that you were able to come on and speak about this. I almost feel like we need a part 2.
Yeah,
because we could just keep going.
Actually, I'll speak to some of the female deported veterans and see if one of them wants to come on.
Yeah, that would be I would love that. I would love that. Yes, I absolutely would. So thank you, Daniel, for being a part of this, such an important conversation. And for anyone listening, reach out to Daniel if you have any questions or of a deported veteran that needs help. This is a situation that isn't going to be fixed in a week or a year. It's something that we have to keep on top of. And you know how diligent we are as veterans. We're like a dog with a bone. We're not going to let it go. So until then, please stay safe. Take care of each other. Until next time. And remember, it's never too late to start your impossible.